Robert Plank Show, episode 338, $1 million Payday. Buy, grow, combine, and sell e-commerce businesses with Murray Priestley. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. We're talking right now with Murray Priestley, and Murray is a partner at Global Private Partners, which is a private equity investment firm based in Hong Kong. And Mr. Murray has these different books, such as The Great Business Shape Up and The $1 Million Payday. We're going to talk about lots of fun stuff. Mr. Murray, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks for having me on.
I am super glad to have you on. So, can you sort of tell us in your own words what you're working on these days and what has you excited?
Certainly, there's quite a lot that we're working on, as per normal. But essentially, we purchased an e-commerce, an Amazon FBA business about 18 months ago. It was a reasonable size business. It was doing about $10,000 to $15,000 profit per month. And subsequent to that, we've thought, well, hey, this is a pretty good business if we could scale it. So we then acquired another four Amazon businesses. We've jammed them together and currently busy growing that. So the team now is about 20 people that are involved in that. But we have a view that if we can continue to do that, if we can grow maybe or purchase another 10, maybe 15 of them, that they've got some great fundamentals. As anybody knows in your show, no doubt, from your drop shipping background, etc., that look, this is a good business. We get some economies of scale on the way through, and the aim is to sell them all out in the next sort of 12 to 18 months. Sell them as one lot to a much bigger client. So that's what's keeping me excited anyway. Is what's happening on the e-com world.
And that sounds super interesting. Just to let's sort of to buy up these separate businesses and then combine them and scale them all and then sell them for a huge payday. And just to sort of catch everyone up and just to make sure that everyone sort of understands what we're talking about when we're saying like e-commerce and Amazon FBA businesses. So like when you go to buy one of these Amazon businesses, I mean, what does it look like and like what's the setup? What are the assets that you're purchasing?
The assets here are obviously inventory that's currently sitting in either Amazon or a warehouse somewhere in the US, and the intellectual property that person. And when we purchased the first business, there was only two or three people involved. So there was one guy who was running it, and there was a couple of VAs in the Philippines. And so look, it was a neat business for somebody who had put in a bit of work. It was just over 12 months old, and they were pulling out a reasonable wage. But one of the conversations was, well, how could this guy scale it and make more money? And I said, well, easy. We attract some investors and we buy it, and then we do it again to like 10 more. You obviously have economies of scale. So when you add 10 together, it doesn't take 10 times the expenses to run it. You can do it for less. And suddenly you open yourself up to, and I'm happy to talk about it more, you open up to profit arbitrage, which is you open up to sell to somebody who's a lot more strategic, a lot bigger, and you can sell it for a bigger multiple.
Pretty interesting. And so, do you build any of these businesses yourself, or are you just looking to buy up existing successful Amazon businesses?
Well, the way that this has transpired is that you obviously get organic growth. So definitely we have the group of guys that are running it have expanded the product lines, expanded into more brands without having to buy them. So that's just part of doing business, keeping things interesting, keeping like one of the brands is a baby brand. So it started off life as a silicone baby bib, and I believe now there's 8 or 9 products that match that brand. So that brand we could sell off by itself, or it just builds the bigger business. But no, we're definitely continuing to look for buying more bigger. I don't really want to buy a successful one. I'll be honest with you. Um, we want to buy cheap. We don't want to buy expensive. So we are looking for more distressed FBA businesses as long as they meet some criteria. But look, we have two or three in due diligence right now, so we're definitely there's always constantly looking for who's ready to sell out of their FBA and Shopify and other e-com businesses as well.
Cool. So I think so. Did I hear you correctly in that you're sort of trying to group some of these together? Like you said that there was the you bought that brand that was selling like the baby bib, and does that mean that you would also look to buy like someone who was selling, let's say, like baby bottles and baby cribs and all that? That way you could kind of just combine those things together.
Definitely, complementary businesses, make a lot of sense, but so do just other brands. We've got a car accessories brand. We've got a Bluetooth speakers in a brand, so they don't have to be complementary. They've just got to make sense by themselves. They've got to be making money. They've got to. What we're looking for, and this is kind of I guess the quirk in in from a private equity perspective, we want to buy cheap. So we're looking to buy from somebody who really wants to get out. There's good reasons for why they want to sell their business, and we're friendly, so we're not going to cause anyone too much grief, but they want out. But we obviously want to sell to somebody who is more strategic. They are looking to add brands to their existing product lines, or they're looking to have a completely separate profit line in their business. So that's kind of where you can buy cheap and sell expensive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And so you're looking for sort of these businesses that you can buy cheap, so that and with like some potential and where the owner wants to get out. And so, I mean, is there any other criteria? Because you mentioned that like you have a couple of businesses that are sort of you're still kind of doing the research on. Like, what things specifically are you looking for when you're buying these sort of undervalued businesses?
Main thing we're looking for is can we can we fit it into what we're already doing, and can we improve it and improve it quickly? I'm talking about 60 to 90 days. Can we effectively double what they're doing? So if somebody, for example, has got let me give you a real example. And this is not a business that we've bought, but it's a business that we looked at, and it almost looked too good to be true. They were doing okay. This was on the larger side. They were doing over $1 million a month in revenue, but they had a database, an email database of 500,000 names, and they'd never emailed that list once. So that to me, my eyes popped out of my head, because there's obviously a huge amount of value in an email database attached to an ecom business. And if they've never emailed it, then they've left a lot of money on the table. So that immediately thinking, well, tick, we can do something with that. There was other reasons why this business ended up being not something we wanted to look at, but things like that. What hidden value is sitting there that has been underutilized because like the owner just doesn't know. Like, for example, they don't do any upsells, or there's no one-time upsell. Amazon businesses, that's harder to do, of course, but on the other side, Shopify type businesses, are you allowing people to buy in quantity? Have you got can you buy 2, 3, 4, 5 of them? And it's just a little list of what you would have been teaching for years. Good basic marketing sense, and that's not necessarily, as most people know, when you start your business, you kind of get stuck into a groove and you do things the way you've always done them, and you're not necessarily looking for new ways of doing it. So we come along and say, well, okay, well, we know that we're looking for these sort of 5 or 6 things. Do they exist? Can we do these things? Just good basic marketing.
And I really like that the way that you put that, because I mean, like you said, like it's some of those basic marketing things, and some of these people, they might have built these Amazon businesses just like maybe as a hobby, or like you don't know what you don't know, or it's really easy to just kind of for one day to go in the next and the next, and it sort of sounds to me like when you guys look into these businesses and buy these businesses, it's almost like, well, if you put some fresh eyes on it, what sort of things did those business owners miss just because they were sort of too close to it and not really looking at things from like the marketing end of things? It sort of sounds like to me. And so, when you're looking at some of these things you're talking about, like, do they have an upsell, for example? Do you have like a normal list, like a normal bag of tricks you look through, or is it just a matter of you look at it and what sort of comes to mind?
We definitely have a list of things we look for. Of all the businesses I've ever seen in my life, and I've got a lot of grey hair. Actually, most of it's gone, but the there's definitely five or six basic things that are always missing, and then there's probably a list of, I don't know, 50 little things that you can drill down on. So it doesn't take that long to really do a due diligence. As you say, people start the business for their own reasons, and they get stuck, and they constantly work it, and they might be completely happy pulling out 50, $70,000 a year, and that's great. However, they're just not looking for the things that are maybe more obvious. So they come along and they engage you, for example, consultant or an outsider. You've got a huge benefit because you're not them. And so as an outsider, you look at it and you go, well, okay, why aren't you doing this? And they go, oh, that's a good idea. And then why aren't you doing this? Well, that's a good idea. The issue is between good ideas and getting it done is execution, and that's where most people are just not equipped, and therefore there's where there's opportunity.
Awesome. And then that's where you come in. And so you say that you like to buy these businesses and then look for things that you can improve quickly in 60 to 90 days, sort of double the revenue coming in of that business. And then how long do you hold on to these businesses? Like, are you looking to make a quick flip, or are you like holding out for years to get some of those bigger investors, or like what's sort of your timetable as far as how long to hold these businesses?
Well, we started this particular venture about 14, 15 months ago, and we've got the first set of brands on the market as of like now, literally this week. So we originally had the thought that we're going to hang on for 2 or 3 years, maybe more like 3 years. But we've decided that we're going to, the way things have worked out with the types of brands that we've been able to pick up and organically grow into, there's probably three kind of main thrusts of the business. And so we've divided it up into three, and we are going to sell one now, and we're going to sell the another one in about 90 days time, and probably the next one closer towards Christmas. That's and then in the meantime, we are picking up some bigger ones. So we'll probably hang on to them for at least 12 months. But I would have said, I'm not Nostradamus for predictions, but I think the Amazon FBA world is becoming more tough, and who knows what's going to happen. But I think we will aim to be selling out of everything before Christmas next year, 2018.
Cool, super fast paced. And so, are there places where you go to look for some of these properties to buy and sell? Like, are there any marketplaces you like to check out?
Yeah, we've got a relationship with the Empire Flipper guys, but a lot, the Quite Light Brokerage and FE International, anyone who's a broker, and just to see what they've got going. Honestly, word of mouth has actually been the best thing for us. Is people just knowing that we are interested in looking. There's a bunch of people we know, around the world, and suddenly, we're getting emails. I would say we get two or three businesses to look at per week, and that's great. And we probably look at we're probably looking at 20 to 30 of them before we really get any interest and say, hey, this is one that is very interesting. Let's drill down on that one a bit more.
Cool. And so, as far as like accumulating some of these businesses, are you worried about like biting off more than you can chew, or does it come to a point where you say, okay, we're not going to look into any more businesses that we're going to buy?
Well, there's a couple of old sayings around biting off more than you can chew, which you may know, and your listeners would probably know. But our view is that we might as well just keep biting and just and eat like mad because the when you find something that's worth it, we want to grab it and do something with it because literally it takes 90 days to actually make a significant difference in what that business is doing. And I mentioned profit arbitrage. I don't know, the word arbitrage is probably not used a lot, but it's simply looking at the difference. If you can basically buy cheap and sell expensive, then let's do that. If you guys are looking at buying, say you want to buy Bank of America on the stock market, you obviously want to buy it when it's at a low and then sell it when it's at high. That's kind of how most people would think you make money. And same with businesses. If you can buy them when they're a little bit more distressed under pressure, but they still have fundamentally good, there's a good business under there somewhere, and then you go and uncover it, expose it, put some capital towards it, let it buy the right stock, buy stock cheaper, ship cheaper, get the operations managed by an offshore team, etc. There's a bunch of things you can do, and then you've now got a business that's worth more, but now you're selling to somebody who is not a private investor anymore, but you're selling to more of an institution, and institutions will pay more for a more expensive business. So you might have got a multiple of 2 to 3 times yearly, or most likely in the internet world, it's 24 to 36 months of profit. But if you sell to somebody who's more institutional, you can get 60 to 72 months of profit. Well, that immediately makes the business nearly double because you're simply selling it to somebody who looks at it differently. So I know that's more complicated than in discussions than most people would want to understand, but that's kind of how we look at it. We
And
look at how can you buy cheap.
still, it's good to hear your thought process there because I think that I really like this business model, and I've sold a couple of websites, but I definitely haven't done the buy low sell high thing, and it sounds like a really great way to shortcut the whole process because I mean to start a new Amazon FBA business and go through all those months of waiting and all and building up the income seems like just quite many months or years where things might not get off the ground versus you go and find one of these distressed businesses. They've already done a lot of the legwork for you. They've already sort of shortcut that time for you, and then you just kind of build it up and sell it, build up the value and then sell it again. Then now it's like you even shortcut like that whole process of all those other months of selling all the inventory. And so buying low and selling high sounds really great, but do you have any sort of missteps or failures to share with us? Anytime when like maybe you bought a business and it only kind of broke even, or maybe with a deal fell apart? Any sort of stories like that to share with us?
Look, you've heard of the 80/20 rule. No
Yes.
doubt everyone understands that. So, definitely of the businesses we've bought and in the individual products that the company is selling, not all of them are successful products. Some of them have died a slow death, and that's the one that hurts the most. Is where it looks like it does okay, and then it's just basically less profitable, and more competition, price erosion, and one day you look and you've got 2,500 of them left in stock, and you can't sell them for the cost of the goods. And we have 4 or 5 products that fit that category. So there's no question that you can definitely, with whatever smarts you attach to it, you can still have a product that no one wants to buy. And so we just kind of say, well, that's just the way it is. As long as you've got at the other end, you've got some products that are just they've got great dollar margin, and you can continue. Bottom line is you just continue to add more advertising to it, and they just sell more. And so you balance it up. You obviously try and look to get rid of the distressed product as fast as possible. Sometimes you through whatever metrics you've got. I know you recommend you're a very metrics driven person in your teaching, but you can have all the metrics in the world, but sometimes something people just find this product in a warehouse somewhere and go, oh yeah, I didn't realize we had it, but we do, and it's completely dead. We might as well just give it away. So I get to hear about that at least once a week.
But
So
it kind of keeps things interesting, right? If you won 100% of the time, it would be boring. But if there's a chance it will fail, it kind of, gives you a reason to sit up and pay attention, right?
well, it'd be fantastic if life was just, gave you charts that went from the bottom left to the upper right the entire time. But yes, I guess we're here to be challenged, and that's one of the things that we get challenged on all the damn time. So
Yeah, and I like just that whole idea of, well, if 20% of it's almost like having a portfolio of sites, right? If 20% of the sites are not doing so well, then we'll kind of try to offload those, and if the remaining 80% make a ton of money, then it's okay in the long run. On the average, it's okay because like the good producing sites make up for those sort of bad producing sites. And so I want to make sure that if people listening to our conversation today know everything there is to know about Mr. Murray Priestley. And so can you kind of tell us about your websites and your books and like whatever you think is appropriate for people to check out of yours?
sure. Look, we put a little book together. In fact, it hasn't been released yet. It's actually coming out in 2 days' time. And you asked the question earlier on about what would you do? What do you look for in a business if you're going to buy it? And then what we did is we've written something up where these are the criteria that we would look for. And anybody of your audience that is interested in potentially selling their business, I'd love to talk to them. But in the book, it kind of says, well, here's what we look for, but then it takes the 180-degree view from that, and it says, well, okay, so if you flip that around, if you were putting on a private equity kind of view of your business or other businesses, then here's what you would do with them to actually make them more valuable. Because it is kind of stupid of me, I guess, to show somebody how to make their business more valuable, because I'd prefer to buy it at the start, not at the end, if that makes sense. But we put it together anyway, and we have a bit of a tribe of people that are in my little circle of friends that they're all, and as you just said before, none of them are starting Amazon businesses. They just buy them, buy them outright. You can buy businesses down to $30,000 or $40,000 and buy into an Amazon business that's profitable, and then scale them and buy another couple and then sell them, literally in the next 6 months. So the book is $1 million payday. The whole concept simply is how can you build and scale your business and sell it for $1 million or more. And it's not, we just reverse engineered it as to what you would need to do to get $1 million. And it ultimately isn't that complicated. Most people, if they just sort of took off their normal glasses and put on, stepped outside of themselves and looked back and said, right, here's what an outsider would look at. You can definitely make some changes. So the website for that is the number 1mpayday.com, as in $1 million payday.com. And it's a free book. Love any of your viewers to grab it and read it and actually make use of it. Build the businesses up and sell them for more than $1 million. I'm sure it'll make a lot of people happy.
Yeah, that would change a bunch of lives for sure. And so everything I'm hearing today is super awesome because I think that a lot of people have been, maybe doing things the hard way, starting too many things from scratch, having all these different sort of, priorities and all these different sort of side projects. And then many people, it seems, sort of take a long time to build these up and then things get built up and they sort of run it into the ground. And it seems like a way better option is to buy something that's existing, build it up, and then after you built it up, sell it off. And everyone can figure out how to do that by going to the number one mpayday.com to check out that book. And is there anything else, any other website where you want people to go, or is 1mpayday.com the place to be?
1M Payday is look, it's a free book. It's going to be downloadable, not even print, and you should be able to whip through that really quickly. There's some big ideas in there. There's no doubt that you want to take some time to read it and think. It's a really big exercise. It's one of my favorite exercises right at the end of the book, which is about thinking and the power of just sitting back and really considering the truth of what's happening in your business. Most people get stuck in their business, as we've talked about, But if you just take time to tell yourself the truth, if it's not going that well, then it's not going that well. So therefore, what now are you going to actually do? And as we've said again, if you're the outsider, it's very easy to see what should be done. So then it's a matter of, putting the rubber on the road, so to speak, and making it happen. And I think 1mpayday.com will give people a ton of ideas and ways of going about making a change. And I'd love to hear some stories back from people who have made changes and have actually sold their business.
I'd love to hear that as well, and it sounds like an amazing book, and that whole thing of sort of realizing what the truth is, that's super powerful, because I mean the first step is admitting that you have a problem, right? And it's just that whole idea also of looking at your business as if you were an outsider, I mean, makes so much sense to sort of see the low hanging fruit, see those missed opportunities. So it sounds like a great free book for everyone to check out right now. That's one more time, 1mpayday.com. So if you're buy a computer, buy a phone, then type it in on the browser and sign up. If you're driving, pull the car over and write down 1mpayday.com on a piece of paper, on your arm, or wherever you can write it down, 1mpayday.com. So I want to thank you very much, Mr. Murray Priestley, for stopping by and sharing some of these interesting stories and your thought process, and sharing these ways that people can really get the money they want to get out of their online business and do it the easy way, the simple way, the fun way, instead of the hard way. So thanks for hopping on, and thanks for sharing all that.
Look, thank you for having us, and I wish everyone the best of luck. And if somebody is interested in selling their business that may meet that criteria, then I'd love to hear from you.
Subscribe to us right now while it's still fresh on your mind at robertplank.com/iTunes, or just search Robert Plank in your iTunes app.